gracias, Esther, por estar con nosotros. Un fuerte aplauso para ella, por favor.
Thank you, Esther, for being with us. Let's have a round of applause for her, please. Thank you for sharing this little while with us, for allowing us to know a little bit more about you and to know your vision of the world of cybersecurity, technology and innovation that you know so well and firsthand. Well, thank you for having invited ADIF and myself in representation well, one of the things we wanted to do is to talk about you and kind of know your opinion, your view on the sector. But before that, I would like to know something, because you're an industrial engineer yourself. And how did you get to where you are now? How was the path? Well, I used the high-speed train. I arrived here. Well, it's only a joke. Obviously, I did use the high-speed train to come to Leon. I am a civil engineer from Seville. I am an enthusiast of technology from a very early age, and although my parents wanted me to study medicine, I decided to that what I wanted to do was to do engineering, although there was nothing like it around me. I am very curious and I really wanted to learn. I studied engineering and I've had quite a few years of experience until reaching my current position. I started off in the medical sector with a very interesting project in the intensive care unit. Then I started in aeronautics. Then I moved to the automobile sector after a few years, and then by coincidence I started working with ships. I spent several years in Denmark, and I am rather intuitive, but it is as if there was a direct line towards railways, and then that's when ADIF came up. I had the opportunity to be part of the railway sector, and here I am. I joined ADIF, and I've spent quite a long time. 10 years, is it? 11. I started and joined the company, ADIF, in 2010, and it has been interesting. And how did you live this time? Because you've had different roles, haven't you? Yes. After I joined ADIF, I was lucky enough to promoted. I've had and been part of very interesting projects, projects, maintenance, transforming projects, such as the one we're developing right now. And in my current role, which I've held for 3 years, in the scope of security, understood in a wide sense. So security, both the physical security, the safety and security of travelers, also digital transformation and cybersecurity. I am responsible for those. And just as a train, we bring together cities and places. And I have the feeling that everything that I have come through before has helped me to be where I am and to be leading the digital transformation project for ADIF. So everything is interconnected then at the end of the day, isn't it? Yes, indeed. What is it that you like the most about your job? What do you enjoy the most in your daily tasks? Well, I have a strong vocation for service, and that helps a lot. But there is something that really gets me rather emotional, I must say. 2 cities on a map are basically 2 points that can be joined with a line, but you can connect people literally. I was happy to step off the train here at Leon. I didn't know the current station, and it is such a great pleasure to connect cities and people. And then there is something that used to happen to me when I was a child. I'm not sure whether that's your case. When I used to see the advertising, the nougat advertising on television at Christmas, and it was so cute, wasn't it? Seeing the families reuniting. And now, whenever I move on and I travel, I get really emotional when I see people coming together thanks to the train, and I get really thrilled. just by thinking about it, and I'm not sure whether any of you have the experience during COVID. We have done immense work from the public services in general, transport, obviously the health sector, in order to keep up the level of service. And then after the Filomena storm that we suffered back in January, we made great effort in order to get public traffic and public services back on track. This is something that really thrills me, even more than telling you particularly about a high-speed train line. But this is something where you can see the reality of what you are building, and you can see the benefit on the citizens. Yes, there is a direct benefit, isn't there? When you do something that many people take for granted, but there is so much more behind. Yes, many professionals indeed in this sector who are very proud of working in railway services and who are happy to provide this public services. It's highly vocational, isn't it? Yes, indeed. You love talking about your job, and this is something that shows. And how's the daily life in a department such as yours? It must also be very stressing, I suppose. At times, you lead an organization such as ADIF with great responsibility. Well, it is a mixture of stimulating, challenging, also frenetic, hectic, and very tiring. I love it. It is true that there are 6,000 trains moving people around every day. There are many travelers and a lot of digital interaction with our teams. Therefore, the activities that we need to manage is just enormous. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, there are some moments of calmness. You have to be humble. You have to recognize that you can be the target of an attack, so you have to keep your cool and have the capacity for decision making. We are working particularly, and now I will talk about cybersecurity specifically, but you can apply this to virtually any of the aspects of security. In a nutshell, we want to see more, understand better, and react faster. We are a critical infrastructure, and we have to have the capacity to respond in a swift way that there may be. It makes no sense to get angry at a cyber attack. What we do need is more talent, better prepared people, and more readily available technology to somewhat anticipate these circumstances. And I would like to open up a debate here about something that I am specifically worried about. There is a general trend whenever there is an incident or an accident or an attack, for that matter. Even journalists do this. They want to know who is the culprit, who's to blame, and there is no incident or accident or cyber attack that is not due to a chain, and therefore it is not always obvious or immediate to find those causes. And when you don't do this properly, you fail to find the real causes, the root causes, and this is no doubt a source of learning to be taken into account. Obviously, you need to keep on learning. You have to prepare yourself, and managing this sort of crisis is not an easy task. Yes, obviously, crises are not a variable that you can manage beforehand. We have to be ready. We have to have previously done a lot of mocks, and you have to be ready. We suffered a cyber attack just last year, and of course, you do learn a lot, because then you have to put all you learned in practice. But it is not a time for creation. It's a time for execution. Yes, executing what you've learned, indeed. So you mentioned cybersecurity. What are the main challenges that you find at ADIF, taking into account that, as you said, this is a critical sector? Well, as you know, ADIF, as in many other sectors, as part of the transport sector, is a critical infrastructure, and it's an essential services operator. I would say that the biggest challenges are in the operational side, what we call OT. The IT side, computers, tablets, mobile handsets, all these elements have a greater historical maturity level, greater than those that you can find with trains. So this is where we must put the focus. Historically, we've valued the availability, rather more of the actual equipment and the train than security and safety. I'm not talking about train safety, of course. Please don't draw the wrong conclusions here. Obviously, the user safety is above everything. But before, the OT infrastructure was a closed network. This means that it is easier to penetrate it. Therefore, the majority of the OT sector, or the IT sector rather, needs to be extended to the OT area. That's number one. Number two, something I'm worried about in particular is the management of third parties, i.e. the subcontractors and suppliers. It would be wonderful for us to improve using all sorts of measures, zero track, double authentication factor, and to have a weak point, a weak link in the chain. We need to make progress here because otherwise we will continue to be weak and we will continue to be attacked. And then thirdly, which I think is a shared element, that's the resources. And I'm not just talking about the amount of resources, which is also the case, but also the necessary training for talent development. And this is where women have such a relevant role, in my view, because they can give so much. It is necessary, however, to have the necessary resources. And I would like to say something. There is great... there is a lot of things that are moving in the sector. We know that attracting talent to the public sector is difficult, but we need to continue to fight. Yes, and that is why we are here, to do constructive criticism and to improve and make progress. Otherwise, we will fail to see what failures there are. How did you see the role of women in those STEM studies and careers in the years that you've been? Well, I am 46 already, and I remember when we were children, in our marks bulletin, the teachers used to write things like needs improving. That's how I see it. We need improving. I think the Secretary of State just mentioned the figures, and she said, if I remember correctly, that there is only 20% of women doing technological studies, and that's not very much. And I wonder often why that is the case. I knew clearly that I wanted to go to university, something that nobody had done in my family before. Nobody had been to the university before me, my family, and my mum wanted me to be a doctor, so I had no outside influence. My sister, she's a physician, so again, not the same case, but whenever I think about what's going on, I work with groups to inspire girls and young women. I believe that inspiration should come a lot earlier than in my case. I was already 14, 15 when I decided to go into science. And the influence is not very much. Yes, the referent is important, but if Maria Pombo says it, is more influential than if it is said that by Esther Mateo. She has millions of followers, and I myself follow her because I like the content that she publishes. What do I mean by this? Well, if the reference we have are just the physical ones, how many likes we are, and your physique and how beautiful you are. I obviously thought about what I was going to wear today. I don't think that I woke up and stood up from bed and chose the first things I found. No. There must be other references reaching those girls so that they make them want to study this sort of studies. Studying technical studies requires sacrifice, but just as any other type of study, how can it be that women, I believe we have disproportionate figures. I believe 70% are judges, doctors. There are many women doing studies that are very powerful. So something is not being told correctly about these studies, and we don't have the reference there. And let me go back to cybersecurity, please. Let's leave the image of the hood. Is a hood beautiful? Seems like you want to go after someone. kidnap someone. In the health sector, which is a place where women normally resort to, we don't know why, maybe it's a cultural thing. To me, more than the reference, the culture is so important. The culture in our society and in our own homes. There is something related to lack of self-confidence when it comes to choosing your studies. But let me go back to health. If women do decide to do health-related studies in a major way, because somebody has activated, in quotes, their health-related careers, let's assume that is the way. Is there anything more beautiful than caring for those who are using a computer or the internet and who don't know what they're doing? I don't think it's related to the hood thing. I fully agree with what you said, that stereotype, those myths that we have very often about many films, and, hoods and somebody in a cellar eating pizza or something, which is not very glamorous as an image. We need to change that image, and we need cybersecurity influencers, don't you? Yes, indeed. However, when you work in cybersecurity, you're not normally very well known, because the best thing that can happen is nobody talking about you. So obviously that and being featured on social media is not compatible. So we need to find a role model that attracts those girls and young women. Otherwise, it's difficult, because working at a cellar, at a basement, eating pizza and wearing just anything is not really that glamorous, is it? So after the image, we have the concept itself, which is also essential, helping the health sector. Obviously, there are many judges, as you said, there are many women judges, because we have a trend to try and help. And we don't quite understand that technology, and particularly cybersecurity, we don't quite understand that its main aim is to help others. There is no more social aspect as that one. Yes, we need to wake up and smell the coffee and be aware that there are other types of tasks, other types of viruses that also require our attention. It's not only about zeros and ones. Yes, indeed, there are many companies that have to that disappear actually because of that. We need to activate that speech to connect to the women's desires. Yes, and you are a good testimony. I love how you are telling the story. I think you should open an Instagram account to talk about those girls. You said that you work with the young girls, don't you? What do you tell them to inspire them?
I always tell them that they have to do what they feel passion for. And then I ask them, why don't they feel passion for what I tell them? So that's what I said, that you have to start earlier. I have two nieces, and when they see me coming, they say, don't talk to us about digital transformation. What I mean is that when I got to these girls, it was too late. They talk to me, they listen to me, they like what I say, but they prefer to become something else. My niece is 9, and I asked her if she loves mathematics, and she said that she loved them, and she wants to become a physicist too. So if she likes maths and her mom is physicist, let's try to direct her to technical career. So I was asking my other niece, because she doesn't like maths, why don't you like them? And she told me, the girls that are good at maths are weird. Well, maybe there's not so much content in that sentence, but what does it mean? To be weird, you're more intelligent, you don't mingle enough? We have to work on that. And we have to work on that earlier, because when they say this, what are we going to do? We need talent in cybersecurity, and we cannot miss a drop of talent. And women have a lot of talent. women contribute with talent to many sectors, but we need them in this sector. So we need to work on that earlier. So concepts like digital transformation for us is our daily bread, but from someone from outside maybe it is not very attractive. Yes, of course, we need to talk about the application of that. They are digital natives. First time I saw one of my nieces taking a phone that was not a smartphone. He didn't know what to do. So if you have an vocation to be an artist, you don't have to go yourself into digital careers. But yes. So what's the differential value of women in this sector? In general, women. Well, first of all, I have had wonderful male bosses. Yes, men are also fantastic, but in terms of female leadership, I think we are flexible, we are adaptable, we are empathic, we are inclusive and creative, and it makes sense from a historic point of view. So in this context, we should make the most of this talent in such a volatile context, because those characteristics where women excel. There are also women. There are both men and women with these characteristics, but we need women here. We need to make the most of that. So you mentioned that in the public sector, it is very hard for you to attract talent. Why, do you think? Well, this is very important. The problem is that women do not get there to these positions. You may want to choose a woman, but technical women do not get there. There are many women in the public sector, yes, but not in these positions. So we need references. Yes, we need So we need talent, and there's also a boom in this sector outside. So it might be more attractive in terms of salary. Yeah, and money is important too. Yeah, money is important. Yes, we work on what we like, but we need the money, of course. So what can we do? What can we do to revert this trend? So we can start earlier to convince girls to go in the right direction and make it more attractive. And within the public sector, I think there is an essential challenge to unlink the top management careers with being at the office. Many positions can be fulfilled and can be done remotely. There are not many men on top management positions, but there are many women with talent. So we need to connect that. So that hybrid type of work that we have will help women. Yes, it will help. What other challenges do we have? What else do we have to tackle in this sector related to women? Well, I think the public sector in particular, I'm going to focus on that because I think there's some lags there, has to work to be more agile. I'm not referring only to agile technologies, but also in terms of adaptability. The public sector is a tractor of Spain. We need to automate processes and give resources where they are needed. We need our organizations to be data-oriented. We need capacity to extract the maximum capacity to manage that information, to understand more and to anticipate. We need to adapt to changes, and this has a lot to do with digital transformation and orientation. And we need to be client-oriented. We have to understand who our client is. In all those roles, women have a dynamizing role. So I was reading your profile before the interview and said you're restless, you're optimistic and very curious. Those are three wonderful traits. Do you think they are common to this sector? Yes, I think whoever is here is restless, is curious, has open maybe some other piece of equipment at home and it didn't work, and has a lot of curiosity to know what is behind things. Yeah, so if you're not curious, you're not here. What do you think about this kind of event? Well, coming to Leon is always a pleasure, so it is great to be here. And we have a wonderful day. But it is also necessary, because beyond creating networking, we have to take a step forward to stop competing and to start collaborating. So networking is very important, and face-to-face contact is very important. I feel really grateful and appreciate face-to-face contact, interact and communicate, because many ideas come out of events like this, and we have to help each other. Yes, we are eager to de-virtualize everything. Yes, and to take a lot of trains. Yes, thanks for that. Yeah. In Spain, we value the work you do. It's an example. It is brand Spain. Yes. So I would then like to finish this interview. But thanks very much for being here. It was great. I would like you to send a positive message. You have sent a message already during the interview in terms of making progress, advancing, taking a step forward, but please send a positive message. Yes, it has to do with collaborating rather than competing. You probably know, but otherwise I tell you, there was Margaret Mead was an American anthropologist, and during a class she was asked what was the event that made the most important change in civilization. What was the biggest event in civilization? So the person who asked was expecting an answer like the fire or wind, something like that. But she replied, the first symptom of civilization, the beginning of the civilization, was someone waiting for a thigh bone to heal. In the animal world, if you break your leg, you are dead because you cannot feed, you cannot get water. So if a thigh bone heals, that means that someone has taken care of that person, has protected that person, and for her, helping someone to overcome a problem is the first symptom of civilization. So cybersecurity requires collaboration, and women have to support each other. From those two ideas, I send this positive message. Sometimes we compete unnecessarily. That's a great message. Thanks very much, Esther. It's been a real pleasure to be here with you and to talk to you. Let's hear it for Esther, please. Thank you.